So hopefully now you have finished and mastered 2019 and 2018, and you're about to have some fun with 2017. First question is just substitution question. A person's body mass index, BMI, is given by the following formula. BMI is equal to W over H squared. What is W? W is their weight in kilos, and H is their height in meters. So a lot of units going on here. Jerry is an athlete. Take your time. Her weight is 77.5. Weight is represented by W. Write it down. 77.5. Her height is 1.63. H is equal to 1.63. You can see what they're going to ask now. Work out her BMI. Nice easy question to start. BMI is equal to weight 77.5 divided by H squared 1.63 squared, and your calculator will do this for you, giving me 29.2 for Jerry for her BMI. We're 15 marks for part A, 1 and 2. So kind of give away marks to start this question. You're up to 5% already if you can get these two correct. Jerry loses some weight during her training. Her height stays the same and her new BMI is 24. Write that down. BMI equals 24. It's one of these classics to explain or work out her new height, work out her new weight, excuse me. So BMI is again weight over H squared. 24 is equal to weight, the unknown, divided by, well, her height hasn't changed, 1.63 squared. So if we cross multiply, W is equal to 24 multiplied by 1.63 squared. So her weight has become 63.8. Just check it twice, 63.8. And we know the units here are in kilograms. So 10 marks for part B for this tick a box. There's only 2 of them, so take your time. Alex and Joe have the same weight. Well, let's give them a weight. We can call it W, but let's say we give it 50. Doesn't matter. Let's say they're 50 kilos. Alex is 10 centimeters taller. So let's have Alex here. And let's have Joe here. So Alex's height, let's say Alex is an even 1.5 meters and 50 kilos. So I think with these questions, if you can give them numbers, it makes it a little bit easier. Joe, so Alex is 10 centimeters taller than Joe. So Joe will be 1.4 meters. And we're asked to put a tick in the correct box, and the justification is what we're doing down here. The maths is our justification. So BMI is equal to W, so we're going to say 50 divided by 1.5 squared for Alex, and for Joe down here, BMI, we can write it again, would be equal to 50 divided by 1.4 squared. Now we will give a little bit of words to our justification too. So my calculator for Alex is giving me 22.22, and for Joe 25.51. So why is this number smaller than this one down here? So let's just give another example or justification. 50 divided by 2 would be 25. 50 divided by 10 would be 5. So as the denominator, I think that's what we'd write here, as denominator gets bigger, which is what we have going on here, BMI gets smaller. As the denominator gets bigger, the BMI gets smaller. So we can say that Alex's BMI, just read it carefully, is less than Joe's. So just take your time with these explaining questions. Question 2, a sports shop buys t-shirts for €25 and sells them for 49. Find the markup, which is profit as a percentage of cost. Well, let's get the profit first. They sell them for 49. They buy them for 25. Think of doing this yourself. Your profit is going to be €24. Write down what we're doing, €24 profit. So profit as a percentage of cost is 24 over 25. They cost 25 times 100, which would be equal to 96%. There were 5 for part A, 1 and 2 here. Just 5 for 2 parts. Probably not answered that well. Find the margin for the t-shirts, which is profit as a percentage of selling. So our fraction is going to be profit, 24. Which will be 49 on the bottom. Instead of the cost, we have the selling. It's the difference between markup and margin. Times 100. Give me 48.9%, and we're asked for to the nearest percent, so this rounds off to 49%. And the shop also sent runners at a markup of 50%. Find the margin for these runners and give your answer correct to the nearest percent. So let's do it here. I always like giving these runners. If the runners, let's say they cost 100, put a C for cost. What would they sell for at a markup of 50? They'd sell for 150 based on part 1. So now we're looking for part 2, the margin part, which is profit, which is 50 in this case, as a percentage of selling price, which is 150 times 100, which we're asked to the nearest percent. This is a third, this is 33 and a third percent, which is equal to 33%. And I said 5 for A1 and 2. It's actually 15. It was 5 for part B. So nearly another. Question 3 is scientific notation. And if you've done 2019 and 18 in preparation for this 22 exam, which you all are doing, I hope, on a Sunday, you should start seeing a pattern. Scientific notation coming up here, percentages all the time. 868 million. 868. How many zeros does a million have? It has 6. Write it in the form a by 10 to the power of n. And you know all this is just a load of jargon to confuse you. It just means put a between 1 and 10, which you've always done. So you're thinking, without reading this part, put the decimal between the 8 and the 6, 8.68. By 10 to the power of what? Just repeating exactly what we've done in class. This number is how many places the decimal has moved. 3, 6, 8. And do this in the exam. Do your arrows. Do an 8 in here and just write it out again to make sure that the examiner can see exactly what's going on here. 5 marks for 3A. Now, there seems to be a lot going on in the second part, but we'll just do it a little bit step at a time. During the Apollo 11 mission, it took approximately 1.3 seconds. So that's time. Time is equal to 1.3. Write down your variable. For a radio signal to travel 380,000 kilometers, that's distance is equal to 380,000. What would you say they're going to ask us here? Does it look like distance, speed, time? Which, if I don't write down the triangle, you know I always make a mistake. Well, you definitely make a mistake if you don't write down the triangle and the formula that attaches to which variable you're looking for. Average speed, my S. I'm going to write down what S is straight away before reading the rest of the question. Distance is above time, d over t. and we want in kilometers per minute. So the key to this question is units. We have seconds, so we want minutes. So, and again, it's just write this in scientific notation, correct it to dp. So 380,000 is distance divided by time will give us, if we divide this by 1.3 seconds, that will give us how many kilometers it will go in 1 second. Let's see what that is. So this is what it would be in 1 second approximately, just rounded off to 2 decimals, 292,307.69 kilometers a minute. That's 1 second. Multiply this by 60 and I'm gonna get 17,538,461. And I don't need the decimals any here because I'm rounding to 2 decimals anyway, so it's going to be in here. So it's going to be 1.75. I'll take the 38. The decimal is here. We've moved it back 3, 6. We've moved it back 7 places. So this is by 10 to the power 7. So I'll just write it here, 1.753. So 1.75 by 10 to the power 7 is the average speed here, and this was worth 10 marks on its own. So take your time with these scientific notations / distance, speed, time questions. Part C. In 2016, a spacecraft flew around Jupiter 868 million kilometers from Earth. Let's just write that, 8.68 by 10 to the power of 8. So that's a distance, that's equal to distance. I'm just reading this carefully. Find how many minutes, so we're looking for time. It would take a radio signal to travel this distance. So assume we would have the same average speed as your answer to part B. So they're giving us speed here. What did we get for it? 1.75 by 10 to the power 7. So they're just making sure that you don't panic here. They're really testing patience. Draw your triangle again. Distance, speed, and time. Time is equal to distance over speed. It's always worth checking. Which is equal to 8.68 by 10 to the power of 8 divided by speed, 1.75 by 10 to the power of 7. Double check this a couple of times on your calculator. And it's giving me 49.6 minutes. Correct to the nearest, doesn't say anything. Find how many minutes. I'm going to leave it at 49.6 minutes here. And there was 10 marks for part C, where you already had pretty much the answers given to you in the previous parts. So take your time with these part C's. Question 4 starts with an exchange rate question. A shop buys cartons of Fruitex from the UK. This was before Brexit. In December 2015, the exchange rate, €1 got you 72p, if you want to read it like that, or 0.72 pounds. And the shop bought Fruitex for £380. So I tell you in class, if you're going from pounds to euros, you're going to get more. For 72, you're going to get €1. So the shop bought Fruitex, £380. Find the price in euro. So I tell you to do two things. There's 3 numbers, 380, 1 and 0.7241. The 1 isn't going to make any difference to our calculation, so we multiply and divide. Multiplied by 0.7241. Take the 380 and divide it by 0.7241, and then we'll just go back. You'll know the answer to this before you even do this. We'll go back and look at the direction that we've just looked at this in and see which one is correct. Are we going to get more or less? Let's have a look at both our answers. First one is giving me 524.6 0.79. Second one. And I've written that into the wrong one. I'll just change these around. That's the divide. That's the multiply. The multiply is giving me 275.16. And then you're just going to look and see which one. So we're changing pounds into euros. So it's going to be more, as you can see. Pounds into euros is more. So this is the correct answer. This is the wrong one. You don't have to do anything other than just put a tick beside the correct answer here. You'll be able to see your correct answer. Now, don't forget to do this in the exam. Fruitex and Juicy are each made from mixing fruit juice and water. Okay, in Fruitex, the ratio of fruit juice to water, we have a ratio of 3 to 7. Just going to write it out again here, 3 to 7. Find how many liters of fruit juice are in 20 liters of Fruitex. So Fruitex, fruit juice to water is 3 to 7. So this would mean that fruit juice to water, so fruit juice to water is 3 to 7. That would be the same as 6 to 14. You can kind of see this one. And 6 and 14 is 20, so that would be 6 liters of fruit juice to 14 liters of water. Or else we could say 3 plus 7 is equal to, there's 10 parts to the mix. So to get 20 parts or 20 liters, we'd have to double both of these. It would be 6 plus 14. Work it out that way as well. It's just a nice easy ratio question. In part 4 or question 4, we're 10 part A and B as well as part 2. Now we're told 20 liters of Fruitex is mixed with 40 liters of Juicy. If you're not confused already, you will be in a minute. In this 60 liter mixture, the ratio of fruit juice to water is 7 to 8. Find the ratio of fruit juice to water and Juicy. Give your answer in its simplest form. Well, 20 liters of Fruitex, let's deal with Fruitex here. That was 6 to 14. So we've 40 liters of Juicy as well. And in this 60 liter mixture, the ratio of fruit juice to water, a lot of F's going on. Fruit juice to water in this 60 liter mix is 7 to 8. That's equal to 15 parts. So if we want to get 60 liters or 60 parts, we'd have to multiply by 4. Build your way up. So 7 fours, 28 liters of fruit juice. And 4 eighths, 32. 32 and 28 is 60. And they're telling you that this is already in here. This 6 to 14 is already in this total mixture. So if we take away 6 and 14, we'll get what's left, which will be 22 liters of fruit juice and 18 liters of water. And this will be an 11 to 9 ratio of fruit juice to water. Last question in this video. Pete and Maeve are saving to buy an Xbox. Their mommy and daddies are not buying it for them. Pete has saved 20 to begin with and a further 12 each week. It looks like a linear pattern. Find the total amount Pete will save after 5 weeks. Well, because it's such a low number, let's just build it up. He has 20 and he saves a further 12 each week. 12, 12, 12, 12 and 12, or you can see the math above is 20 plus 5 times 12, or as a pattern 20 plus 12 times the amount of weeks. That looks like it might be the pattern that's going on here. And in part 2 you can see we may get that. 20 plus 5 times 12 is 20 plus 60. He's going to have 80 euros saved after 5 weeks. Write an expression in N for the total amount of money Pete will have saved after N weeks. You know, if we look at the pattern here, he has 20, then he's going to have 32, then he's going to have 44. Now if we did it the way I taught you in school, we'd say, well, the gap is 12 there. It's going to be 12 each time. So take the gap, multiply it by N, and how do we get back to the first number? Well, it would be minus 8. So this is not correct because we're not taking this as week 0. So be really careful with these patterns when there's a week 0 involved, which is to begin with at the very beginning. So this pattern, we'd leave out the 20, and the pattern would be, let's say we could start at, well, let's leave out the 20, we'll start at 32, 44, 56. If we look at it like this, we'll get the difference is 12n. And how do I get up to 32? The 20 that I would start with. So a couple of ways of looking at these linear patterns. So we're looking at 12n plus 20 here, or 20 plus 12n. And if you knew that part B was a giveaway. Maeve has 15 to begin with. Just the marks, 15 marks for A, part 1, 2, and B. She saves a further 6 each week. Well, that's going to be 6n plus 15. You should see that from the pattern above. And Pete will give 1/4 of his savings to buy the Xbox. Maeve will give 2/3. And the Xbox costs 200. After how many weeks will they have enough money saved to buy the Xbox? So 10 marks for this part. What they want you to write out pretty much is the information that's given so far. 1/4. Pete has 1/4 of his savings. 12n plus, not 2n, that's 12n plus 20. 4 divides into both of them. Plus Maeve has 2/3 of her money, which is 6n plus 15. This has to add up to give 200. Or it could be greater than 200. So 1/4 of 12n, divide 4 into both of these, we're going to get 3n plus 5. Does this one work out evenly? 3 into 6n plus 15 is 2n plus 5, plus 2 by 2n plus 5, just dividing the 3 into both of these because it's over both of them, equals 200. 3n plus 5 plus 4n plus 10 equals 200. Just solving a linear equation now. 7n is going to be equal to 200 minus 15. 7n is equal to 185. So n is equal to 185 over 7. So n is going to be greater than 7 into 18 twice, 26.4. So after how many weeks? They'll have enough after 26.4 weeks. So n will be a natural number. 27 weeks will be the answer here.